All right, let's break it down with Rick Spielman and Tyler Sullivan here to explore some of those inefficiencies, especially on the Denver side of this conversation, guys. I don't know how else to characterize this other than an abject embarrassment for specifically Russell Wilson and this Denver franchise. Tyler, I'll go your way first here. It sort of is getting to be repetitive week after week trying to frame these failures, but how do you frame it here after another inexplicable loss?
Yeah, no, this is one of the most disappointing teams in NFL history. I mean, you go back to this offseason, we were talking about them potentially winning this division and going on to win a Super Bowl. It was under that same narrative of Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay, Matthew Stafford going to Los Angeles, and the impact those quarterbacks can have automatically in year one. We're seeing that that's not always the case. It seems like this is an abject failure all the way around. Not only does it feel like the Denver Broncos went over with Russell Wilson, but it also feels like they went over at the head coaching spot too. And again, that's another one where you thought there was so much promise there. Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator for Aaron Rodgers during his MVP runs. Now you pair him in Denver with Russell Wilson. You think you're about to take off, and you just seem to go 0 for 2 on two of the most important positions in the NFL at the head coach and the quarterback spot. And for me, it just feels like there's no way out when you look at the Russell Wilson situation. You look at that contract. I mean, he has over $100 million in dead cap in 2023. You can't really move on from this until maybe before the 2026 season. That is something this team seems like be stuck in the mud with. With head coach, you can see maybe they move on from Nathaniel Hackett. I think that he's firmly on the hot seat, and that is piping hot at this point. It's new ownership. They didn't hire this guy. They can move on and kind of wash their hands from this and see if they could get something resolved here. To me, you look at this Denver team, they haven't even played Kansas City at all yet. They have them 2 times as they go down the stretch here. It's only going to get worse for them. And to make matters even worse, they don't even have their first round pick because they acquired that quarterback.
Rick, you've sat at these tables before, these conference room tables where the hard conversations have to be had. What are the conversations between Sundays in Denver right now?
Wow, I'm sure there's a lot of conversations going right now around the conference table, as you refer to. I usually sat at a small desk when I was sitting there talking with the ownership about issues going on. But just watching Denver, it's almost painful to watch them play offensive football right now. And to go into Carolina, and I give credit to Steve Wilks. I think he deserves a chance to get serious consideration because Carolina is competitive week in and week out for the most part with what they've had to work with. But you look at Russell Wilson. I know they got injuries up front on the offensive line. He was sacked 3 times. They lost 2 fumbles. He doesn't throw for over 200 yards again today. Latavius Murray had that long run, but they can't run the ball. And the thing that's shocking, and I can see why that argument happened, is because Carolina controlled the ball for 37 minutes of this game. Denver's offense only had the ball for 22 minutes. So the defense, which keeps them in somewhat these games, but eventually they're starting to wear down too because they're on the field so often. So it doesn't matter whether Hackett was calling it or Clint Kubiak called it in the last 2 weeks. This looks like just a mess out there in Denver, especially from the offensive standpoint. And it's going to be, as Russ said, when he came to Denver, he knew it was going to be a journey. I just didn't know if this was the journey he thought it was going to be.
Most definitely. And I mean, you talk about some of that fatigue on the defensive side of the football, physically and now mentally, as we see finger pointing and words exchanged between the defensive and offensive difference makers there. And that's never what you want to see. You also don't want to see 9 points from your starting fantasy quarterback, but that's what Russell Wilson gave you if he's your starting quarterback. Make better decisions. Sam Darnold made a couple good decisions in this one, $164, a touchdown, sort of what we've seen from Darnold in the past, but he was on time and on the money relative to what we've seen from the quarterback position in Carolina this season. It was DJ Moore, his top target, 20 fantasy points here in Week 12.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.